Assalamualaikum, hello. So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, my name is Colton Pulaski. I am from America, as you guys know. I am teaching here in Namangan, Dostok Academic Lyceum at the American Corner, and I'm working with Access. So I'll start by just talking a little bit about myself. So as I said, my name's Colton. I am from a state called Ohio. I don't know if anyone's heard of Ohio before. Yeah, it's in kind of the northern part of America. It gets very cold in the winter. We get a lot of snow. I know just a few weeks ago, they got a lot of snow, like up to like their knees. So it's nice to be here in Namangan, where I'm not shoveling snow every day. So yeah, I'm 22 years old. I attended Miami University in Ohio, where I studied international politics. I just graduated from there in May of this year. And so now I'm teaching here in Namangan. I arrived in September, so I've been here for about 5 months. The town that I'm from is called Toledo, Ohio. It's in the northern part of Ohio, up along the border with Michigan, if anyone's heard of Michigan. It's in a region that we call the Great Lakes. So there's about 5 really big lakes around there. So in the summer there's a lot of like boating and swimming and things like that we do. So in America I lived with my parents. My dad works in business and my mom works in marketing. I have a younger brother who is studying at university to be a history teacher. And then I have a younger sister. She's in school, she's 16, so probably about some of your guys' age. And she wants to be an artist. Let's see. So I went to Miami University, which is in Oxford, Ohio. I studied there for 4 years. And as I said, I studied international politics. I guess one of the things, if you guys have questions later, we can talk about universities in America. But I applied out of high school. I took an ACT to go there. The first 2 years at university, I studied what we call general education. So for your first 2 years at really any American university, you'll study, there we go, nice. You'll study basically your basic subjects. So your first 2 years you'll study math, science, English, literature, things like that. And then afterwards, your last 2 years, you'll study what you specialize. So maybe like business or engineering or things like that. So yeah, when I was at Miami, so I studied international politics. So I took political classes, economics classes, anthropology, history, classes like that. And then for my foreign language requirement, I studied Russian and I studied a semester abroad, which is something that a lot of Americans will do. For one of their semesters, they'll study in a different country. I studied in Kyrgyzstan. And when I was in Kyrgyzstan, I had the opportunity to travel to Uzbekistan for a week. I did the kind of classic like Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, Khiva tour, and really loved it here in Uzbekistan. And so after I graduated university, I decided to apply for this program to teach here in Uzbekistan. And they placed me in Namangan. So I will be here until July. Yeah. I'd like to talk a little bit about the American Corner too while I'm here. I do I'm assuming most of you have heard of the American Corner, yeah? Okay, so I do some work at the American Corner, and then there's also another American who does a lot of work there. Her name's Ellie. I don't know if any of you have met her before. And the American Corner is a really good place to just go and practice your English. They have conversation clubs, all kinds of like speaking, writing, things like that. It's completely free. It's good extra practice. I'll be there, you know, a couple times a week, and Ellie's there almost every day. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, open it for questions. Yeah.
Okay, yaxshi, demak, kimda savol bo'ladigan bo'lsa, bularga beramiz. Ya'ni American life, ya'ni Amerika hayoti, universitetga qanaqa qilib topshirish, qanaqa qilib kirish va qaysi universitet yaxshiroq. Okay? Kimda savol bor? Bu yerda hech qo'rqish shart emas. Sizda masalan nimadir qiynayapti, ya'ni qaysidir savol. Ya'ni mana qilsam nima bo'ladi deb turib so'rashingiz ham mumkin. Ya'ni faqat bu yerda biz IELTS o'rgatamiz, to'g'rimi? Lekin IELTS o'zi bilan universitet o'ziga qabul qilinib bo'lmaydi. Ya'ni 5-6 steplar bor, ya'ni qadamlar bor, nima kerak. O'sha narsani so'rab, ya'ni qaysi birini nima qilsak universitetga kirishimiz mumkin, yoki chet elda o'qishimiz mumkin, grantdan so'rasangiz bo'ladi. Okay. Which university better in your country?
See.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can be sitting and you can
Okay.
no need to stand.
Okay.
Which is the best university?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Yeah, we got two microphones. They're fancy in here. All right. So that's a good question. He asked, what's the best university to study in America? And the true answer is that there's not just one best university. America is a really big country, right? We have 50 states, we have 300 million people that live there, and we have thousands of universities. And each university will specialize, kind of, in certain things. So what do you want to study? What are you studying?
I'm a student of the University of Business and Science in Namibia.
Okay, so business, for example. If you want to study business, there are certain universities that will have really good business schools. Maybe that's what they'll be known for. Because the way the university structure works in America is you'll have the university, and then you'll have colleges within the university. So you'll have a college of business or a college of science. And so certain universities will have really good business programs. And it really depends like what type of business you want to study. Maybe cost is pretty important, because I know American universities can get pretty expensive. So I can't recommend like a single university for you. But if you look online, there's certain universities that will really advertise for international students. I know Arizona University, Arizona State, my university, Miami University will accept a lot of international students. But a lot of it will just depend on what you're studying, what your budget is, how much you can spend, things like that. Yeah, good question though. Thank you.
I have some question for you again. Which state better for studying? Which state in America?
Another good question. So he asked, which state is best for studying? Again, it kind of depends what you like. There's good universities in every state. And we have 50 states, right? But each state, some of them are pretty big. And so each state kind of has a different climate, different weather, a different culture. If you really want to live somewhere, you know, that's really cold and gets a lot of snow, you know, you can look at universities that are in the northern part of America. If you hate the snow and you hate cold weather and you don't want to walk to classes when it's like 0 degrees, there's universities, you know, that are in warmer places like Florida or California or Arizona. And so which state you pick really depends on what type of climate, what type of culture you want. Does that make sense?
Okay. First, Dr. All right.
What kind of unique features does your university have?
That's a good question too. So my university that I studied at, Miami University, is known for having a lot of buildings that are made with red bricks. That's like one of our things. My school also had a really good hockey team. So another thing about American universities is that sports are really popular, like American football, hockey, basketball. In certain universities, especially ones in the South, they might have 100,000 people go to football games. And so that can be a really fun atmosphere. But my school, it had a really pretty campus, a very big campus. So if I wanted to walk from one side of campus to the other side of campus, it would take maybe 30 or 40 minutes. It was, I think, about 8 kilometers squared was the size of my campus. So it was like a little town almost. Yeah.
I have another question. What things we should pay more attention to entering university, majoring in international politics?
In international politics?
Yeah.
So for entering university in general, for all of you who want to enter an American university, obviously you'll need to have, a good English score on something like IELTS. But what is a really important part of the process is your essay, your personal essay. That will be an opportunity for you to tell the universities what you're about, your own story, why you want to study at universities. So every single person, even Americans who want to study in America, have to write this essay, right? So the people who are reading these essays, they read thousands of these essays. So you want to make your essay unique. You want to make your essay stand out. And so being from a country here like Uzbekistan, there's not a lot of Uzbeks that study in America. You have an opportunity to kind of write a unique essay. Also, I would say, especially for international politics, knowing multiple languages can be very useful. So if you know, I'm assuming already Uzbek, you know English because you're studying here, and then I don't know if you know Russian or Tajik or something else. Knowing multiple languages can be very useful. Taking coursework in maybe economics or politics or things like that will be helpful to you. Yeah.
Is this SAT is really needed in our university?
Really good question. So she asked if the SAT is needed. So another question where it depends on the university. Some American universities do require that you have the SAT or ACT. However, some universities, it's optional. You don't need it. So what you have to do is go to the website online of each university you want to apply to and see if they require it or not. A lot of universities are switching to where you don't need it anymore. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Can I ask a question about American Corner? After you gave some information about American Corner, I'm interested in. So my question is about, is it accessible for us, and how can we apply or attend the classes?
So the American Corner, you don't need to apply. Anybody can go. They're open, I think, Monday through Thursday and then Saturday. They have a Telegram channel where they will post what kind of events they'll be having. each week, and you can just go. You don't need to register or anything. Yeah, and it's just a really good opportunity for extra passes.
For everyone, right?
Yep, for anyone.
Yeah, I'll pick it up. Okay, so anyone else? Yeah, you can.
If you have some
Is it
challenge
working?
with some kind of sports, it's not working.
It's not working? Okay, let's see it.
Lahat. Keep it close. Just close. If you have some achievements with sport, is it useful for apply some kind of university?
Can you repeat the question?
Up.
If you have some kind of achievements with sport, is it useful for any university to apply?
So it can be. One of the things that American universities really like for students who are applying is what we would call extracurricular activities. I'm not sure if you've heard of this before, but it basically means activities that you do outside of the classroom. So it can be maybe clubs you're involved in, some kind of jobs you do. Sports can be one of those things. And so if you are really good at a sport, or if you like to play, or you have an interesting job, or maybe some clubs, or even coming to a language center or something, that's something that you could write about on your application. In order to get specifically admitted to a university just off of sports, you'd probably have to be one of the best in the world. But having those extra activities can be good things to put on your application to show the university that you like to get involved and do things other than just school.
Hop, bu yerda umuman tushunmayotganlar bormi? I mean, umuman birorta fikrlari yoki birorta o'sha berayotgan javoblarini, ya'ni sizlar aybini bilan emas, ya'ni ingliz tilini yetmayapti gapirayotganlarga. Anyone? Yo, IELTS chilamasdi. Beginnerda bo'lsa yoki intermediate'da bo'lsa ayting, ya'ni agar shunaqa qilsa yaxshimi, ya'ni bular javob beradilar, keyin o'zbekchasini aytib beramiz ko'ring. No? Hamma tushunarlimi? Okay. They don't need to translate.
Okay.
Okay. Don't worry. Is it working? All right.
Hi, my name is Martina. Nice to meet you again. I have a couple of questions for you, but I'm so shy. If I will have any mistake, please forgive me.
Don't worry.
Is it possible that I ask some questions?
Yep.
I really want to know about this. Our country is not really popular or famous in the world, so why did you come here?
Good question. Yes, why did I come to Uzbekistan? Which is what a lot of people ask me. I'll be walking around on the street, and most of the time people think I'm Russian. And then they hear me speak Russian, and my really bad, and they're like, "Ты не русский." And so I'll say, "I'm an American." And they'll say, "American? Why are you in Namangan?" Because there's not a lot of Americans here. But so I studied international politics at university, and I really became interested in Central Asia. I think Central Asia is a region that I think really gets overlooked in the world. I think there's a very interesting history here. There's a very interesting culture here. You guys have amazing food. I would eat osh every day if I could. And I think with this program, to come to Uzbekistan was very unique for me because not a lot of Americans come to Uzbekistan. And so I thought I could come to a country that's really interesting to me, that has very interesting history, very friendly people. I think Uzbek people are very friendly. I have people inviting me to come to their houses all the time. And I think also right now, Uzbekistan is at a very interesting point with its English education. Obviously, I think English is a relatively young language in Uzbekistan compared to other countries like maybe in Europe where they've been studying English for a long time and their levels are very high. Uzbekistan, I think you guys are really the first generation of Uzbeks who are speaking really good English. And so I'm very excited to be a part of that and see you guys, you know, learn really good English, have really good opportunities, maybe go travel to America, maybe see different countries. And so being here and hopefully helping, you know, young Uzbeks like you achieve that is very exciting for me.
I have another question. You know, living in another country is really difficult, but how can you live in here? Because incredible people don't know about English even.
So obviously living in any country that's not your home country is difficult sometimes. Obviously you mentioned the language issue, right? I don't speak Uzbek. I speak some Russian, so I use that on occasion. But obviously it's difficult sometimes when you can't always express yourself. Another difficulty is being away from your family. So I'm not going to see my family for 10 months, which is difficult. But also there's a lot of cool things about being in a different country. You know, we talked about the language thing. That's obviously a downside, a con sometimes, but it can also be a pro. You get an opportunity to practice a new language. You get to meet people that you wouldn't meet if you stayed in your country. You get to experience new cultures and new things. And so, you know, for those of you who want to study in America or in Europe or in another country, there's pros and cons. There's some really good opportunities, but it's also difficult sometimes. And you have to be prepared that, you know, I might miss my family, or sometimes language might be difficult. And you just have to be prepared that some days will be hard, some days will be good. It's pros and cons, right?
Question, because I have never seen that person, native speaker like you, so please forgive me.
No.
Actually, how can you get higher scholarship into American universities? And is IELTS enough for going there?
Okay, so she asked about getting higher scholarships for American universities. So what American universities look at is your whole application, right? And so for your application, IELTS will probably be part of that. And so most, I think pretty much all American universities will require to have some kind of language proof, normally IELTS or something like that. So you'll have to have that. But they'll also look at your essay that I talked about, which is important, your grades in school. So they'll want like a transcript of your grades at your, I don't know, school or lyceum or wherever you're studying. A letter of recommendation. So a letter from your teacher or administrator or somebody talking about how you are as a student can be really helpful. And then as I talked about, your extracurricular activities. So maybe if you are part of a club or an organization, or maybe you volunteered somewhere or did something interesting, those can help make you a better applicant, a better person applying to this university that can help you get more money.
Thanks for answering.
Yep.
All right.
Assalamualaikum. Could you describe a little bit about abroad students during studying there, and what kind of opportunities we will have there?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Could you describe a little bit about abroad students' atmosphere during studying and living there, and what kind of opportunities we will have?
She means like Indonesian students.
Yeah. So like opportunities for international students, maybe when they're in America or a different country, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of American universities, and I can really mostly speak about of resources and things they do to help international students, because they know it's difficult, right, to go to a different country, different language, different culture. And so a lot of universities will have like a center specifically for international students, where they'll have advisors or people that work specifically to help international students. At my university, we had a lot of international students. I think we had like 1,000 international students. And so international students would arrive on campus early, and they'd have events so they can meet people from Americans and from different countries, because it's easier to live in a different country if you make friends, right? They would help them register for their classes, just show them around campus so they know where to go. And then my university had a program where they would take an international student and pair them with an American student. And so you'd have like an American person who can help you around university, who can show you different things, you know, any questions you have about the university or America, they can help. There's also a lot of clubs or organizations for international students. One of the really cool things about American universities is that most universities will have a lot of organizations and clubs that students can join. So my university had over 500 clubs that you could join. So there might be an international student club, or a Muslim students club, or if you like, I don't know, anything like football club or anime club or anything that you would be interested in, you can meet students through that. But yeah, there's generally a lot of support and help for international students in American universities.
That's it? I have a question.
Yeah.
So what is like the people's attitude like in terms of religion? I mean, if you are a Muslim, there will not be any racism or any differentiation in terms of like in America.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good question, actually. And honestly, it depends. In general, in most places, there will be absolutely no issues with students being Muslims. In certain parts of America, there's a lot of Muslims. Like at my university, we had like a Muslim students organization. I think like the dining halls had like halal food. So these are things that a lot of universities are very respectful of and very tolerant of. And I would say religion in America is generally not something we like discuss a lot in public, or like it won't come up very often, I think, unless like maybe a close friend you're talking about religion. So obviously I'm not Muslim, so I can't speak exactly to what that experience would be. But I would say in general, at most universities, you probably would not have any issue being Muslim. There would probably be a lot of other Muslim students as well. And I wouldn't think that it would be an issue.
There will not be any pressure from the government, right?
No, there won't be any pressure from the government. One thing I will say is that most universities are mixed gender, so you probably will be going to class with, you know, men and women together in the same class. Some dormitories may be mixed in the sense that one floor will be men, one floor will be women, one floor will be men, one floor will be women. So you'll kind of have to decide how comfortable you are with that. That in America, things are generally more mixed gendered. So like if you go to the gym, there will probably be men and women there. If you go to restaurants, like, you know. So, but from like the government or from the university, there won't be any issues that you are Muslim. It is, you know, completely normal. There's a lot of Muslims in America, so no issues there.
Okay.
Most cities even have like, a lot of cities will have like mosques or places that you can pray if you want to. So in general, there's shouldn't be many issues with that.
So, you?
Hi, my name is Vic. What is the best way to learn SAT quickly? And how long do you learn it? And what's your score from SAT?
To learn what quickly?
SAT.
SAT.
How to learn SAT?
So, I did not take the SAT, I took the ACT, which is very similar. So, in general, they're going to be testing on things that you have probably been learning throughout school, right? I think there's like a math section, reading, English, and so you should already have a basic knowledge of some of these things, right? There are a lot of really good resources online about these things, right? Because I think millions of students take these, right? So if you just like, for me, I would just Google like SAT practice questions. And I would just do practice questions to, you know, practice them, get used to them. There's so many resources online. Yeah, so that's my answer.
So like, if they have a normal like knowledge from the English and normal knowledge from maths, like how long does it take?
So in terms of how long you should start practicing for it, a lot of it depends on the person. I would say for me, at least a couple months before I take it. And there's like normally like full practice tests you can take, like we call it a PSAT. And so they might be available online. I took one in person. And so you can take a full practice test and see what your score would be. So you know, like, do I need to practice more? Am I prepared? So that would be my advice, would be like, use the internet. There's a lot of great resources on the internet. And I would say even for like your English learning, use the internet if you can. There's a lot of really good resources there. If you want to practice like listening or things like that, go watch YouTube videos. Go watch American television shows. Get used to hearing those things. I think a lot of good practice can be just taking in American resources, just watching shows, listening to music, things like that. And so I would say the internet and even social media can be a really good resource for those types of things. Yeah.
So, anyone?
I've heard that some students are studying colleges instead of studying at university. For example, after graduating from high school, I think they can study in college. And after graduating from the college, the diploma is nearly equal to the university's diploma. And is it true?
Yeah, so we have these things called community colleges, which are, university is normally 4 years, right? We have these things in America called community colleges, which is basically 2 years. And so some students, if they either want to save money or maybe they're not ready for a full-time university, they can study at a community college for 2 years, where they'll kind of study normally basic things like science, math, English, and then they can go on to a university and finish their last 2 years at a university. And it's normally a lot cheaper. A lot of times maybe they'll live at home with their parents when they do it. So yeah, we have those. They're called community colleges, and they're generally a lot more affordable.
So, as everyone knows, there are a lot of difference between salary of Uzbekistan and America. So, is it enough for your life and you?
You mean the Uzbekistan salary? It's an interesting question. So, I'm not going to talk too much about my salary, but I do okay here. I do okay. I will say one of the things to consider is, for a lot of you that want to go to America, obviously the salaries are higher in America, yeah? But so are the prices. So you have to take that into consideration, that even if you're getting a job that's paying, I don't know, $100,000 a year in America, to buy a house might be $300,000. You know, so the prices are also higher in America, even though the salaries are also higher. So sometimes it's not always better depending on what your job is. Yeah.
Okay, just take a drink a little bit.
So,
Microphone. She's gonna ask a question.
No, just a little bit rest, please. Savol beraylik, ya'ni boshqalar, faqat IELTS'chilar emas. Qaranglar, savol berish ikkita yaxshi yo'li bor. Birinchisi, demak, siz savolni javobini olish uchun savol berasiz. Ya'ni nimadir qiziqqaningiz uchun. Ikkinchisi confidence, ya'ni ishonch yig'ish uchun. Shuncha odam oldida gapirib yoki inglizcha gapirishga harakat qilish ham bu nima desa bo'ladi? Confidence kuchliligidan-da. Bu yerga menimcha shunchaki tomosha qilish uchun kelmagansiz, to'g'rimi? Yo'q, o'shanani ketdi, amerikaning guruhlari qanaqa uyalarga bashkarasiz deb. Muzeyga kelmadinglar, right? Da ko'rib turgan. Nimadir tushunasizmi? Ha, yes deganni tushundim o'shanday. Okay, shuning uchun savol beraman. Keyin IELTS bilan safarchilarga aytamiz-ku.
I prefer not. Just because like get nervous with so many people. I don't know if I'd like, yeah.
Okay. Beginner levels ham so'raydi.
What if they ask in Russian and you answer in English? Because it's understanding is also difficult, right?
Maybe a little bit.
So, kimda savol bor? So, Suratullah, can you give the microphone, please?
For you? I don't know.
Or asks.
Working? Okay, just ask the question. I will do it.
What do you think? What kind of difficulties may we have when we study in America?
So there are potentially a lot of difficulties you could have, and it really just depends on the individual person. So obviously there might be times where you feel lonely. I mean, you're going to be away from your family, which can be difficult. And one of the things I was just talking about with some of the teachers here is the time zones are very different, right? So right now it is 3:20 here. In America, it's 5:30 a.m. So my family and friends are all sleeping when I'm awake here. So that's something to think about. Sometimes it's hard for me to call my family because they're asleep. Also, you know, the language issue can sometimes be difficult. Even if you speak really, really good English, it can be kind of tiring to speak a foreign language all the time. You know, and maybe one of the downsides, I guess, you can say of you guys being Uzbek is that there's not a lot of Uzbek students studying in America. So depending on what university you go to, you could be the only Uzbek student. So you should be able to make friends. I think Americans are generally pretty friendly people, but you know, sometimes it might get a little bit lonely. Also, there's just culture shock. You know, it's hard for me to say what that culture shock could be, but you know, we do things differently. Things, you know, as simple as like, I don't know, the way we have classes, or maybe just even ordering at restaurants, or just small things that might be different that could be, you know, maybe a little bit scary at first. But the good thing about a university is it's 4 years. So after 4 years, you know, you'll probably be adapted. You'll probably be used to living in America. So if you can get past the first couple months, you'll probably be fine. You just have to be, I think, kind of resilient and strong, and you know, just expect that there will be difficulties sometimes. You know, yeah.
This is for you.
Ah, very fancy.
Yeah. At last.
Wow.
Okay, just ask. Can you check whether it's working?
Yeah.
Ben Amerikaga borib turib huquqshunoslik yo'nalishi bo'yicha o'qisam, o'sha yerda qanday ishlar bo'lishi?
So the question is, he's gonna study politics in America. So how kind of like job can I find in America? Is that like, you know, lawyer or somewhere or somewhere?
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Good. All right. So, very fancy. Awesome. All right. So for politics, it's what we would call kind of a very like wide field. There's a lot of different things you can do with politics. And so one of the paths is law school, going to be a lawyer and working in law. Other people might work on what we would call political campaigns, so working for politicians, making like policies or trying to like make laws. We also have another field in America called lobbying. You probably haven't heard of this before, but lobbying means working for an organization to try to help new laws get passed for a certain side. So there's a lot of different things you can do with a political science degree. And at most universities, if you study political science, your courses will be, obviously you'll take politics classes, you'll also probably take some history classes, and there will be a lot of essay writing. So if you want to study politics, practice your writing. You're going to have to write a lot of essays. Yeah.
Assalamualaikum, how do you do? There is a question, very interesting one. So, as an expert, can you give us some? I'll ask one more time. So, as an expert, we're really interested, as you've been in America and you've come to Uzbekistan, right? And you've seen our education system, and now it's really interesting for us, for everybody, I guess. How can we improve our education system in Uzbekistan? Because you, I guess, already seen the difference, right? In our education system and in America. So I guess it would be really interesting for us to see that, upgrade our education system, I guess. Thank you.
Good question. I'll say one thing I would say to you guys, especially if you want to study in America, really work on problem solving, critical thinking, and like argumentative writing skills. So one of the things I really like to do with my students is practice debates and arguing, how to think, right? In American classes, generally, especially if you want to do like business or politics or engineering, you're going to have to be able to come up with new ideas and new solutions and be able to write about them. And so I would really try to practice those skills. Being able to persuade somebody, being able to convince somebody that you're right, either writing or I guess just verbally, are really good skills that I think we really emphasize in the American educational system. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
So my question is, I think you have recently graduated from master's, right?
Undergraduate, so just the 4-year bachelor degree.
Bachelor, yeah.
Yep.
So I have recently graduated from a bachelor myself. My major was economics. So I was going to apply for master's, for MBA. But the thing that really turned me off was that I saw recent statistics of student debt, and it was about 1.3 trillions of dollars just in USA, let alone European countries. So studying MBA is really worth it. I mean, is it really good investment?
That is also a good question. And there's a lot of Americans even that are thinking the same thing. Obviously, going to America to get an education can be a really good opportunity because I think the level of education is really high. The professors are like experts in their field, and generally it's very prestigious, right, to get a degree from a university. But you're right, it can be very expensive. And so one of the things I would recommend is, especially if you can apply for free or get like application waivers, it can't hurt to apply to American universities and see what type of scholarships you get before you decide how much you have to pay. But that is something that you have to think about when you are considering a university. Like, is the money that I would have to pay for this worth how much money I would make when I get back? And if you look at the economics of it and you think, oh, this is too much, and I'm not gonna make money off of this, then maybe it's not the best idea. I mean, there's good universities in Uzbekistan, there's good universities, in other countries, so you have to just look at the economics of it and make sure that it's the right decision for you. But that's a good question because it can be very expensive. And so most students will try to make sure that they get scholarships. Scholarships are really the way. So making sure you have a really strong application is really the best way to try and get the most scholarships you can. Yeah.
Nice to see you. Does the region or nationality that has some political issues that US can affect your possibility to enter university?
So I'm sure it can for certain nationalities, but for Uzbeks, it wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, for you guys, I don't think that your nationality would cause any problems. I think you would be perfectly fine.
It's me again.
That's okay.
Imagine we are gonna to study in American university, but you know there is a difference between the cost. If we don't have enough money for studying there, can we work there? Is it possible? Is it allowed by government or not?
So I believe it is. If you have, actually, I'll use this as a plug. If you have questions about American universities after this talk, at the American Corner, there's Education USA. Yana runs that, and basically her whole job is to help people get into American universities. So she's a really good resource. I believe after talking to her, you can work up to 20 hours a week at universities, or in America. And most of those jobs will be at the university. So for example, you could get a job at the university library or the university dining hall, or you can work at the gym or something like this. Like the university will have jobs. For me, I worked as a tour guide at the university. So I gave tours of the university. I worked at the library, and my last job was working with tutoring international students in English. So there's a lot of opportunities for different types of work, and the salary will depend on what state you're in and how expensive costs are. Yeah.
Was it difficult
to get a job?
Yeah, yeah, I mean that.
No, it was generally very easy because there's a lot of jobs on universities. You also might be able to work, you know, I don't know, as like a waiter or waitress or at restaurants or things like this, depending on your English level. Generally, for students, it's pretty easy to find jobs.
Thanks again.
Yeah.
So, any question?
I would like to say, actually, one thing to you guys, just as advice. I have studied a couple foreign languages, and I think my advice to you guys, especially for speaking, confidence is by far the most important thing, I think, when you're speaking. Americans, and I think most native speakers, don't really care if you make mistakes. In America, there are so many people from different countries, there's immigrants, so we're very used to hearing people maybe with accents or make mistakes, and we still understand. And so it's easier to understand if you speak with confidence and don't worry about making mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. It's not your first language. It's better to not worry so much about making mistakes and just try to talk, because we're probably gonna understand what you say, even if there's mistakes. And if you just keep doing that, your grammar will get better as you go, your accent will get better as you go. Just focus on speaking and practicing, because that's the best way to get better. I talked a little bit earlier in terms of listening. For me, I would recommend just going on YouTube. Find a YouTuber you really like. Maybe you're interested in, I don't know, football or fashion or, I don't know, cartoons or something. Find something you're really interested in, something you really like, and just watch that. Watch it in English. Listen to it. Maybe there's subtitles in Uzbek or Russian or something that can help, but just hearing that, hearing the intonation that we speak with, you'll pick up on some of the grammar. It's really good practice. Even on social media, on Instagram, there's Reels, right? Watch some videos in English. You know, just hearing that every day will help you little by little get more comfortable and get better with it. Yeah.
So, any questions? Okay, good.
Hello. If I apply for a university, can I study for free in America?
So, I think we all wish we could. It is very, very...
And diplom berishadi. Ya'ni Mobilda siz qatnashmoqchi bo'lsangiz, demak American Cornerga borsangiz bo'ladi. Demak o'sha makro regionda, mikrorayonda o'sha yerda American Corner o'zini demak joyi bor. Bular ham o'sha yerda ishlaydi. Bir ikkita nativlar bor. O'shalar bilan gaplashib, volunteeringga qabul qilinsangiz 6 oydan keyin o'sha letter of recommendation American University'larga birga topshirishadi. Okay? Xo'p, demak mana shunga qarab bir savol bering. Ya'ni insho qanaqa yoziladi yoki masalan nima kerak yana universitetiga kirish uchun? SAT-ni universitetiga kirish uchun emas, sizga demak grant ajratish uchun o'qiladi. SAT-ni bilganlar uchun. Okay?
So it's really nice to have your answers, like very good explanation. And I'm wondering, like some students may go to America and they may have some financial problems. So and they may have an idea of transferring their university. Like,
think about how you will pay for it. So then you can try to avoid that situation to begin with, right? Because before you go, you'll know how much it will cost. And so think about how am I going to pay for that? A lot of students will take out loans. In terms of transferring universities, that is something that Americans do. And if you get to a point where you cannot afford the university, it is possible to transfer to maybe a cheaper one. So that is an option. But hopefully, you know, it won't come to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyone has a question?
Yeah, Tursunada has a question.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. What kind of opportunity are there for sportsmen in USA?
For sportsmen. So, universities will have, you know, teams which are like we would call like varsity teams. So for like the best athletes in the universities, and they'll play normally in front of a lot of people. What's more common is what we call intramural sports, which basically means anybody can play with like their friends at universities. The university will help organize games. So maybe for me, I played football a lot, and we would play, you know, 2 or 3 times a week with our friends. There's normally a lot of good gyms or fields or facilities at universities that are free to use, and it's very easy to find people to play with in America. Sports are very popular. Yeah.
My name is Mezobek. I want to be a translator in the future. What kind of jobs are there in America?
In America for translators?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know exactly about jobs for translating because that's not my field, but I do know that they exist. And they will generally want you to be able to speak multiple languages. Like if you could speak 3 or 4 languages, that would make it very easy for you. If you speak like English, Russian, Uzbek, or maybe like a 3rd or 4th language, that would probably be very useful. English and Uzbek on its own would probably be difficult because there's not a lot of Uzbek being spoken in America. But I know there are jobs out there for that. You can study to be a translator at university. So yeah, those jobs do exist. Yeah.
What is the difference between in the life in Uzbekistan and in the life in the USA? And which place is better to live, to teach, or to study, and have a lot of opportunities for foreigners?
Ugh.
The answer is exact, right?
So that's a big question. So in differences between America and US living, it's a tough one. Obviously there's a lot of differences, like basic ones like language, food, culture, people's mentalities. I would say which is better is up to your own personal. For me, you know, I like America, I'm from America, I'm used to America. I like Uzbekistan, but I don't think I could live here forever. I will say one of the nice things about Uzbekistan is I think in a lot of cities, transportation is a little bit easier here. Here people use taxis a lot, you know, they'll get in like the Damas. Certain cities will have like, you know, buses or things like that. That's not as common in America. Most people will own their own cars and you have to drive everywhere, and traffic can be very bad sometimes. So same in Namangan. Namangan traffic is a little bit bad too. But the US is very, we'll say, car-centric. So it's hard to walk places sometimes. Most people will need cars. Another thing about Uzbekistan, I think that's a little bit different. I think Uzbekistan is very family focused. I think family is obviously important in America too, but it seems like in Uzbekistan, people really put an emphasis on family. I know in America, normally when people turn 18 years old, they will leave their family and go live on their own a lot of times. Whereas I think here in Uzbekistan, it's more common to stay living with your parents or your grandparents. In America, that is less common. People will generally leave to go to university and then get jobs and kind of live on their own. Yeah.
All right, so we'll have 2 questions and then we'll finish it. So, anyone else? Questions? I think we didn't talk about...
Yeah.
Hello. My question is about in your country, is diploma or a certificate important word?
So, a university diploma is...
Yes, university diploma.
Yeah. A university diploma is probably the most important thing for finding a job. The salaries, the opportunities are much, much higher if you have a university diploma. As far as like certificates or other things, I would say they're more common in Uzbekistan than in the US. We don't really have like certificate courses or things like that as often. I would say like the university diploma is the most important. Yeah.
Information about the foundation.
Can you repeat?
Can you hear the information about the foundation?
I don't think I'm familiar with that. I don't know anything about it, unfortunately. Sorry.
So, anyone else?
Assalamualaikum. My question is not about education. Social media, how much important in your life?
A lot. Probably too much. This is a good question actually about social media. So in America, we do not use Telegram. Nobody knows what Telegram is in America. I did not get Telegram until I came here. We usually use
like email, Gmail a lot more in America for like work or school. We always use like email, obviously Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, very popular in America, TikTok, Facebook, yeah. So I think most of the social media is similar. But I would say the big difference is Telegram is not popular in America. And to communicate, we normally just like text, like SMS, with our friends. Another thing is we don't call on the phone as often. In Uzbekistan, it seems people will call their friends a lot. People are always on their phone. In America, normally we text. We don't call very often. So that's a difference. Yeah, good question.
So can I give a question?
Let's hear it.
Okay, so qaraylar ko'pchilik writing haqida so'radi. Shuning uchun birinchi writing haqida so'rab olmasak, boshqa savollarga qo'yib qoling. So can you give information about how to like write normal essays in terms of IELTS, other stuffs?
Yeah. So in terms of writing, I think one of the most important things to think about is the structure of the essay. So maybe like the order in which you put things, right? One of the things I notice that maybe Uzbek students or international students don't do enough is think about their topic sentence. So that means the first sentence that you're going to be writing is probably the most important because that's the first thing the reader is going to see. So you want to tell in that first sentence kind of what you're going to be writing about, what that essay is, what your main point is, right? And so I would practice, maybe with your teachers here, maybe online, practice writing good topic sentences, good first sentences. Then you'll have, we call it the body of the writing, you know, your main points, your main arguments. And then another really important part of writing essays is the conclusion, that last sentence. In the last sentence, you want to kind of summarize or restate everything you said. I'm sure you guys have done this before, but I think those are the topic sentence and the conclusion. If you have really strong, really good topic or conclusion sentences, it makes your writing sound so much better. It makes you sound so much smarter. So really practice doing that in your writing, having strong structure of your writing. Yeah.
I have a question. Can I answer? Sure.
So your best cigars.
Kicking in. Oh my God. Well, thank you for everyone for coming and you as well. So before wrapping this all up, we have a little gift for you, specially made. But one thing that you have to everyone. Thank you so much.
We got the.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
So your final words.
Final words. I guess I will be dying soon. You're going to kill me after that. Okay, so yeah. Final thoughts for you guys. Obviously, you know, you're interested in English, you're interested in America, you all came. And so, tips for your English. I would say, as I said before, confidence is the most important thing, but it's also the hardest thing. And so, for my advice is when you're speaking, try not to think too much about the grammar. Try to not worry too much about making mistakes. Just speak. People will understand you, even if you make mistakes. That's the only way you're going to get better at it. In terms of your writing, I talked about, you know, focus on your structure, topic sentences, conclusions. Only gets better by practice. I would recommend, using the internet as a good resource for you. There's so many things on the internet. Listening to podcasts, YouTube videos, Instagram reels, TikToks in English. Just hearing English every day, even after you're done with your classes. Maybe, before you go to bed, just scroll on Instagram for, well, probably not right before bed, but here's some English. In terms of studying in America, I think it's a great idea if you're interested for all of you to apply. It's pretty easy to apply. You need your essay, your letter of recommendation. A lot of universities will let you apply for free, but that might not be the path for you. Even if, it might be too expensive, it might, you might not get in. English is still a very useful language for you, even if you decide to stay here in Uzbekistan. So it's a universal language. No matter where you go in the world, you'll find people that speak English. And I think that's what's so cool about studying English, is that I can go anywhere, and there's people that speak English. So I would say just keep studying, try to incorporate these tips. I hope this was interesting for you, and good luck to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you.